In this video, I'm gonna walk you through step by step on how to create a video inside of iMovie. So if you're a beginner and you don't know anything about editing or anything about iMovie, then this is the perfect video for you. I'm gonna share with you the editing basics that you need to know inside of iMovie. I'm gonna try and keep it very simple for all the people who are just getting started with iMovie, as well as showing you some really cool tips and tricks inside of iMovie. So by the end of this video, you're able to do some really cool effects and editing inside the software.
You gotta just press record.
Now, as we get going, if you already know something, then you can go to the time codes down below and skip forward, and that's gonna be in the description as well as our pinned comment. All right, without further ado, let's get into this full tutorial for beginners inside of iMovie right now. First things first is you want to find your iMovie app. If you're using an iPad or your iPhone, you're gonna find it there pretty easily, but if you're on a laptop or a desktop like this, sometimes it's not gonna be in your dock right away. So you need to go into the launch pad, and in here, you're gonna find iMovie somewhere. And if you're having trouble finding it, you can just do a quick search and you're gonna see iMovie. Now, if you want it in your dock, and if you're gonna be editing a lot, then I definitely recommend just dragging it down here and putting iMovie in your dock so it's very accessible. And then to open it, you're just gonna double tap. In this top left corner, when you open up iMovie, you're gonna see this box that says create new, and it's got a plus symbol on it. If you click it once, it's gonna give you two options. Today, we're gonna go over a movie, which represents just like your basic kind of YouTube video or any other kind of traditional video. And then your other option is to create a trailer, which is very specific. It is what it is, it's a trailer. And there's some really cool templates inside the trailer. So if you wanna play around with that, you definitely wanna learn some of the basics of editing first inside of Movie, which is what we're gonna do right now. So we are going to click Movie. All right, now right away, I know when you open up a brand new software, sometimes it can feel overwhelming. So take a deep breath. I'm gonna walk you through step by step on what these sections mean. And you know, to make it simple, I like to think of it as 3 sections. In this upper left-hand corner, we have one section, and then here we have a second section, and down here we have a third. And I'm gonna show you what each does and how to use them. And we're gonna start with this first section. And right here, you're gonna notice we have a button that says import media, and that is how you actually get the videos off your SD card onto iMovie. For me, I've already downloaded my footage off my SD card onto my desktop into a folder, but if you have an SD card, you can pull that out of the camera, stick it into your computer, and in here, I'm gonna show you, you're gonna be able to import that footage straight off the SD card as well. So we're gonna hit import media once, and this big window is gonna pop up. Now this has everything that we need in order to start inputting, music and videos. And there's multiple ways to do this, but this is the most simple way. So when you have your SD card plugged in, it's gonna be under devices, and you can just click on it right there and select your videos. For me, I'm on desktop because I have my videos in this folder right here called vlog. And if I click on these, I can see what videos I want to import, and I already know that I wanna import all of them. Import means that it is going to take those videos from the desktop and bring them onto the editor. So I'm gonna hold down Shift and select all of these videos by selecting the bottom one first, holding down Shift, touching the top one, and now I'm going to touch Import Selected. Now we have some videos inside of iMovie we can start editing. This also introduces us to this second window over here, and then we are gonna get to this third section next. But for this second section, this is where it kind of shows your video. So as you scrub through, or I can hit the space bar and hit play, it's going to play this video right here that I have selected, and it's going to show me what the video looks like over here. I can also use the mouse to scrub through and then hit the space bar again to see what footage it is. One cool thing that you can do is you go through your footage. If there's certain clips that you know you're not going to use, or maybe there's a clip that is your favorite and you want to make sure you use that clip, there are some symbols down here where you can either heart it or you can hit the X. And so, for example, this clip right here, I actually filmed for like 50 seconds and this thing never went off. And so I started a brand new clip and filmed it right there. And so I actually don't even need this clip at all. So I want to make sure that I have the X on it. And that's going to put a red line over the footage so I know that I don't need it. It's not going to delete the footage, but it's just going to put that red mark there so I can kind of skip over it. And really, it's just an organizational tool if you want to use that. I don't really use those a lot, but they do come in handy sometimes. And so that's what that is for. So now that you're kind of scrubbing through these videos, it's kind of cool that you can play them and see them over here, but you want to start editing. You want to take one clip and another clip and start making a video. And this is how you do it. We're going to start with this first clip right here because this is kind of my opening to the video. And what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of dragging where I want to start the edit. And so if I hit play, today I am shooting some iMovie. This is the beginning of the video. This is where I want to start. So all this right here, I don't need that. And so I've dragged this yellow piece here right there. And then all you got to do is either hit this plus button, which I'll show you. And that adds it down here to my timeline. And if I hit Command Z, it's going to undo that. The other way is to just drag it down like that. Now, it's not super important to nail your cut with this yellow selection because once you're down here, this is where you can do more precise cuts. So if I want to zoom in more and make a cut so that there is no weird empty space in the beginning of the video, I can zoom in by moving this to the right. And that's going to zoom in, letting me see this video a lot closer. Today I am shooting some iMovie. So I want the video to start right here as I start talking. All you got to do is come over here and drag this left side of the clip this way. Now you can see that part is gone and this is where the beginning of the video is. So I'll hit the spacebar again. Today I am shooting some and that is perfect. So I've trimmed the beginning of that clip and now I can play through, and this is section 3 where I can start editing. I can add in another clip, and let's go ahead and do that right now. Before I add another clip, I actually want to take off a lot of this video because I have my talking piece right down here, and let me kind of show you what this is. So up here we have these images that are showing us what is being filmed. So here I'm sitting, and then over here I go to the kitchen, and down here in the blue part, we have audio waveforms. And so this is what it looks like when I'm talking. You see the audio going up and down, up and down, up and down. And then see how low it is over here? That's because I'm not talking. So I can do a quick edit and know that I probably stopped talking right around this section because it's loud. Then it gets quiet right here. So I'm gonna hit play. Let's go get some coffee. Let's say I want to cut it right here. There's two ways to do this. If I want to take off the entire rest of the clip, what I would do is I would right click and I can either hit split clip and then select it and hit delete. The shortcut for that would be Command B, would cut it right there. So now it's in 2 clips. I can select it and hit delete. The other option would be what we did earlier. You can go to the end of this clip, you can grab it, and you can start to just trim all this off. Now, a lot of people ask me, when you trim all that video down, does it delete it? Can you get that stuff back? You can get that back. And that's what we're gonna do next, is because there's clips in here that I want to use, but they're just later on. So let's start by trimming this clip to where I want it to end. Now I still want to use certain pieces from this clip. And so here I can grab the selection again, and I know that I want it to start right when I open up this drawer. So I'm going to drag this down. I'm going to hit play. And I am going to trim off a little bit of this beginning until my hand comes in. And then I'm going to cut it right when that coffee mug gets pulled out. So right there, I am going to hit Command B. Now it's split this into 2 clips. I'm going to select the second clip and I'm going to delete it. There's actually a lot of clips I want to use in here. And so I'm actually not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start deleting clips by splitting them up. And this is a method that I use a lot when editing. So let's check out how I do that. So I know this clip is good. I want to use that. I have a cut right here. I need to make another cut on my next start point. Really what editing is it's setting your start point and your end point for every single clip you have until you have one full video. My next start point I want right here as my hand comes into frame. I'm going to hit Command B again. So this was the start point and this is where I want it to end. And then basically this is all just trash. I don't need it anymore. So I'm gonna hit delete. Now you've probably noticed up here we have some orange bars underlying. This is letting us know that this clip right here that's highlighted by orange is inside of our video. So now I need to set another endpoint, and I'm gonna do that right here. I'm gonna move this playhead. This is what we call the playhead. So as you hit play, this shows you what's happening, and I'm going to move that right here by just dragging it with my mouse. I'm gonna hit Command B, then I'm gonna go to my next clip. Don't wanna use any of that. I wanna use this. So I want it to start here. I'll hit Command B. Now I don't need this clip anymore, so I'll delete that. Set my endpoint right here. Select the clip, Command B. All right, let's keep going. I'm gonna delete all of this. Gonna delete all of that. Now I wanna use this clip, so I'm going to hover over right here, hit Command B, and I can delete this one again. All right, so let's see what we have so far. Let's go get some coffee. So far, it's looking pretty cool, and that really is the basics of editing. You're going through, you're finding the good clips, you're finding the bad clips, you're keeping the stuff you want in there, and you're getting rid of all the rest. Really, when it comes down to it, it takes practice, but that is the basics of editing. The cutting and the trimming, just learning those few things, you're gonna be able to do your first video and have a great video just by keeping in the good pieces and getting rid of all the fat. One other thing you can do here, if you don't like using this yellow selection bar, what you can do is just play it through by hitting the space bar. You can pause it, and if you hit I on the keyboard, it's gonna automatically set that as your end point. And then I'm gonna hit the space bar again. I'm gonna pause it, and if I hit O, that is gonna set your out point. Now I hit the plus button, and it's added it right there. But then I've changed my mind. I don't want it to actually start there. No problem. I can just trim off that beginning and snap it right there. I'm gonna go through, make a couple more cuts, then I'm gonna teach you how to add music. The first step with this is finding the right song. If you're looking for some free music, then you can definitely go to youtube.com/music library. There they have stuff that's royalty free so that you can still monetize your videos and have them in there, and there's gonna be no issues. Now at Think Media, actually what we use is Epidemic, and it's much higher quality music. The next step is to import that song into iMovie. There's a few ways to do this. You can go to File and go to Import and go to your downloads by hitting this button here. But the way that I think is the easiest is by going into the downloads in the Finder and just dragging it straight onto the project. So here I pulled up my Finder, I've opened downloads, and it's at the top here because I have it sorted by date added. I'm gonna drag that right here. Now the next thing to do is to find out when you want the song to start. We could have it start at the beginning, but I actually want it to start when the man starts singing in the song. So this is where I want it to start. So I'm just going to drag this over and then slowly just keep dragging it over. All right, so I'm gonna keep trimming off until I find that piece where I want it to start. Awesome, so that's turning out pretty good, but I'm gonna show you a cool couple tricks here that you can do with the audio. So if we listen again, the video starts with the volume just at full blast. And so I'm gonna show you what that sounds like here. There's a better way to do this, and it's really simple. All you gotta do is come down here. You're gonna see this little dot right there. And if you just hold on to that and drag this way, this is going to fade your audio into the video so that instead of it starting at a high volume, it's going to start at a very low volume and fade into the normal volume that it should be. So if we listen again, it's going to sound a lot smoother when we play it. So I think that sounds a lot better. It's kind of fading into this second clip, and you can mess with the duration here. If you want it to be a really long fade in or a really short fade in, you can mess with the settings just by dragging it left and right. So now I'm gonna zoom out a little bit and grab the end of the song. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the end because I don't want it to just stop at the end of the song. That sounds weird. So I'm gonna take that same little circle here at the end and I'm gonna drag it a bit so that when the video ends, the song slowly fades out as well. Awesome. So now we have the beginning fading in, and then at the end, it fades out. If you want to lower the music, maybe for parts where you're talking on the video, there's a couple ways to do that. I'm going to show you right now. So this line right here, and just actually let me zoom in so I can really show you guys what this is doing. So now we've zoomed in, you can see that there's these waveforms, and this is kind of telling you how loud it is. Red would be at its loudest point. Yellow is, just getting there. And then if it's all green, then that means that it's not at its loudest point. And so there's two ways to do this. You can just move this bar that covers the entire song, and that is going to change the volume of your song. So if I change this to maybe 14, 13%, if we listen to it now, it's a lot quieter. So maybe if someone's talking in this clip, then you're going to be able to hear them a lot better than if it was at 0%. Or you can hit the speaker symbol up here to open up those settings. And here you can do the same thing. I can move it back to 100 or even past 100, and that can be how it was before. Or you can adjust it down here. We'll put it back at around 14%. Then this is lower volume of other clips. So if you have a video where someone maybe is talking, which I don't think I have a clip on here where I'm talking, but if you select this, this will actually automatically lower the song when you're talking, and you can adjust how much it lowers it by moving this left and right. Left would be more quiet and right would be a bit louder, but I don't need to do that. One other way that you can do this, which is the way I like to do it, let's just hypothetically say that during this clip right here, this entire clip, I was talking and I really wanted to hear what I was saying, but for the rest of the video, I just wanted it at 100%. So I'm going to move this back up to 100%. And then what I can do here is if you hold down R on the keyboard, you can select this range. R stands for range. So this is a range selection. And now I can let go of R, I can let go of the mouse, and then either up here, I can now lower just that selected range to a quieter level so that I could hear what I was saying. Or just like we showed you earlier, you can do this. All right, so let's keep this at 13%. You're gonna notice these little symbols here. These are your keyframes. It's adjusting the audio, and it's very similar to what this is. So as this fades the audio up, this is fading the audio down. So if we move these around, this can be more of a fading down, whereas this would be a sudden drop. So I'm gonna show you the difference of maybe this sudden drop and then this one where it's a bit more faded. So take a listen to this. That doesn't sound natural. So I'm gonna go over to this part where it fades up, and this is gonna sound a lot more natural. Perfect, so that sounds good. I'm gonna drag this over so there's a bit more room here for it to fade down. And so if I was talking here, this is gonna give me a good gradual decrease in the music. And even then, I think that's a little bit too quick. I could drag this out a little bit more, and you can just mess with it and see what fits your video. So let's take another listen. Sounds pretty good. I'm liking it. All right, one last thing that you can do with your audio if you just want to reset everything. Up here, if you open up this, you can just hit reset, and that is going to set it back to how it originally was. One little editing hack here that's gonna level up your videos is using the drop of the song for a cut. So let me show you an example. Here it's not being done, but let me show you what it sounds like. Okay, it's a cool song and it goes good with the video, but here's a way to level it up. I'm going to zoom in. Here's the drop right here. I can see this big loud piece. That's the bass drop. So I'm going to drag that bass drop right to the cut. So right when it cuts, I want the bass drop to happen. And let's watch one more time and see how that looks. That's awesome. So that's super cool. I love that. And it matches the cut now really well. Now that you know how to add music and do cuts inside of iMovie, it's important to learn about the text options, how to add text and the things you can do there inside of iMovie. There's some really cool tools that you can use. And so let's get into that. Up here, you're gonna notice there's some different options. And right here in the middle, you're gonna see titles. So we're going to click on titles, and this is going to open up all the different titles that you can use on your video. So down here, I have some clips that I want some titles to go over. And so up here, they have some words in here so you can see what they are. And obviously you're going to be able to replace those later. But if you drag from left to right over this, it's going to show you the effects. And so this one kind of fades in and out and zooms in. This one's in the bottom left-hand corner. This one is centered and the text actually starts to kind of separate itself, which is kind of cool. And so you can go through these and start to look at the different effects and see which one is going to fit your video the best. So I really like this one called Reveal. And so how you import it is you can just simply drag it over your project and drop it wherever you'd like. For me, I want it to be on this clip. So now if I hit play, you can see that the text is overlaying my video. Now there's a few things that you can do here. One is if you grab the end, you can extend it and make it longer or shorter. And then same with this side, you can make it shorter or longer, as well as move this at any time. So if you don't like it over this clip, at any point, you can move that to the beginning of the video if you'd like it there. In order to change the text, you just need to double click where it says title text here, and it's gonna open up a lot more settings. We're gonna start with font. Here you're able to change, from some different fonts, and I'm gonna use Helvetica Bold. And then you can just start typing and change whatever you'd like. All right, Think Media is the text I want to use. Right here where it says 160, that is the font size. And you can click here and it gives you some options to change it. But you can also go in here and change it to maybe 100. So if one of these don't really fit exactly what you're looking for, something you can do is highlight the numbers and then change it. And now you have unlimited options of the size of the text. This allows you to change where the text is, whether you want it left, centered, or on the right side. And so for me, I want this centered with my screen. And then here we can make it bold, italic, outlined. I'm gonna leave mine on bold and italic. To change the color, you can click this white box right here, and you're gonna see this thing pop up. Here you can, drag this around and pick a color. There's some different options, that Apple has on their computers where you can just select. But I like using this to find the right color. And so I'm going to use a yellow tone like this. And once you've selected your colors, you can hit reset if you want to reset everything, or you can hit the blue check mark once you're done, and it's going to snap back into place. And so I'm going to move this to the beginning of this clip. When I hit play, it's going to show me what it looks like. I like it. I think it should be a little bit longer. And so all you got to do is drag the end here, and I want it to end right around there. The next thing I want to talk about is themed text. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go into settings by clicking this right here. It says project settings, and we have theme. It says no theme. And this is where we're going to get some more text options that you don't see initially is by changing the theme. So if you select this, all right, so now iMovie has opened up all sorts of different themes, and you can play these and look in them and see if you like them. But you see these text effects, those are what you're going to be able to add. You have something like modern, where it kind of has this darkened background with text. You could do something playful, and these text things we're going to be able to add, but we need to make this the theme. So I really like neon. It kind of has a fun, beachy summer type of vibe going on to it. And so I'm going to select neon and hit change. Now that I've changed it up here in titles, you're going to see that the current theme is now neon, and there's some new titles, which opening actually automatically puts itself on that opening clip, as well as some effects. And so just by changing the theme, it's added a lot of effects for us. And if you don't like those, you can go ahead, select it, and just hit delete, and then turn off automatic content. Go through, you could delete the rest if you'd like. I don't necessarily need them, so I'm going to delete those. So for the beginning, it says My Movie One, and it's the same thing here. We can make it longer if we'd like, and then double click to change the text. So I want it to say Think Media. And also notice that theme titles cannot be adjusted. So you can't change a lot of the customization that you could with some of these, but it's still some cool options. So I'm gonna hit the check mark, and I want to see what that looks like now. Awesome. I think that's super cool. I love it. Let's check out a couple of these other ones. So we have middle.
And it's actually placed the ending one right here on the end for me as well. And it's a bit short, so I'm gonna make this a lot longer. And so, oh, it says directed by Nolan Mole. It already knows, and it put it in there.
All right, now we're gonna talk about color grading. And what I mean by that is just making this image look better. The colors look better. It's a little bit dark, as you can see, compared to this shot. So I want it to be brighter, and then just kind of mess with the colors. And so what you want to do is you want to click on this little paint thing where it says color correction. Right here, we have some tools where we can either grab the highlights and make it brighter, which that's too bright because you can see my face is becoming blown out. But I'm going to brighten it up to about right there. And if I drag this end to the left, this is gonna crush those blacks. It's gonna make it a lot darker. I don't necessarily want that, so I'm going to leave it, I'm gonna lift them up actually a little bit right about here. Now, when you select this one or this one, they're tied together. This is going to give you that contrast. This is less contrast, and if you spread them out this way, it's gonna give you a bit more of contrast. And so I like the contrast, but it's actually making my highlights a little bit bright. So I'm gonna bring this back down, and so far this is looking pretty good. If I wanted it to be extra bright, I would probably just make this a little less contrasty, and that's what I would do to make it brighter. So already it's a lot brighter. If I hit reset, we can see how dark it was, and then Command Z to undo that. And it already looks a lot better. But by doing that, I feel like the saturation kind of went down a little bit. So this one right here lets you control the saturation. So if I bring these down, you're gonna see it goes black and white because it has no color. And so I'm gonna bring this back up to a good spot. Right about there looks pretty good. And then this one allows you to change the color temperature. So if we drag it to the right, it's gonna make it more warm, more sunny looking, and then the left would be a bit cooler. I feel like right around the middle was fine, so I'm gonna leave this one right there. Now, if we click on color balance, we're gonna have more options. And here we have auto. Now, we already made some corrections manually, and so this just makes it look worse. So we want to uncheck that. When it comes to matching color, this allows you to try and kind of match the color of a previous clip. Let's say we wanted it to look just like this. We could select it, but it doesn't look good. I don't love these tools in iMovie. That's why I'm gonna spend a little more time talking about these instead of this. But when it comes to white balance, if there's something white in the background, you can select it, and that will kind of give you an auto white balance. But again, I don't need it. I think my colors were fine. And then skin tone balance refers to your actually skin color. So if your skin is looking maybe a little pink, maybe a little green, you can try using this eyedropper and just touching your skin, and it's gonna try and make it look more natural. However, I really do think that we have the best look we're gonna get just by messing with some of these. I think I was using the Canon 90D, and the colors are just great right out of the camera. So I just wanted to add a little bit of saturation, a little bit of brightness, and the footage is good to go. All right, next up, I'm gonna show you how to stabilize footage. So if we watch this clip right here, it's a little bit shaky. So if I want to kind of smooth that out a little bit more, you can select this clip, and then up here you see this little camera with these lines over it, and that's your stabilization tools. So we need to check the box if we actually want to stabilize it. So we're gonna do that, and it's gonna take a little bit of time. So down here, it says analyzing for dominant motion, and it's just the computer kind of figuring out what's your camera trying to do, and then it's going to automatically fix those shakes for you. But be aware, it's a hit or miss sometimes. If you have really shaky footage, then you can't really save it if there's a lot of motion blur and stuff. But if it's little jitters and stuff, this thing can really save you sometimes. So let's play it, and we're gonna be able to mess with these settings here to make it look better, but let's see how it looks right off the bat. So it definitely stabilized it a lot more. So if I kind of look at that, so it kind of stabilizes it, but you can see how much motion blur I had. It's not working the best because it's just blurry footage. I still kind of like it though, and if it's too much, we can always turn it down or turn it up, and you can see what it looks like when you turn that up. I mean, it's kind of a cool look, honestly, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn that back down, and probably right around 10% is what it's at. Let's see how this looks. I think I liked it best right around that 30% mark. So we're gonna leave it right at 33%. And that's how you can stabilize some of your shaky video. Now here you can fix rolling shutter, and that refers to when your cameras, mostly DSLRs and a lot of these mirrorless compact photography type of cameras, they give you rolling shutter. And that's when you whip pan left or right, or you're just really shaky footage, and your footage looks like jello, it's just wobbly. And so if you click that, iMovie can actually try and fix that rolling shutter for you. Back in section 1, we've mainly been inside of My Media. We've also been able to go inside of titles. I typically don't use audio because I just go straight into my Finder. I find my music or sound effects, my downloads, and I just bring them in. Over here, we have backgrounds, and there's some cool things that you can put here. If you want to put text down, for example, if I put some stars at the end, play that through, all it is just some stars, and then that allows me to add titles over it. And then up here, we also have transitions. Transitions go in between clips. So right here, you see this little gray line. This is basically where a transition can go. So I'm gonna show you a few of these, and we're gonna see what it looks like. Also, if you hover over these, you're gonna start to see what they do, and you can actually just hit the spacebar, hit play, and see them in action. So this one dissolves, this one blurs the two clips, and so you can go through, you can find one that you like. This one reminds me a little bit of like a Star Wars type of cut, so we are going to just drag that down right here, and let's see how it looks. How you make, I think it looks pretty cool. I like how it almost looks like it's coming out of the coffee cup, so I like that one a lot. Now I actually, because I added the transition, it's cutting off a little bit of my audio, so I'm just going to trim this back a little bit. And that right there, perfect. Now, if you want to make this longer or shorter, you can double click. And right now it's set to 1 second, but we could put it at 0.5 seconds if we want it to be a bit faster. And you can either apply it to just this transition or apply it to all of them. Right now we just have one, but if we put others down here, it would apply that duration to every single one of them. And that right there, I like that a lot better now that it's quicker. And so you can go through and you can add a lot of these little transitions into your clips just by dragging them down, and they can add a lot of cool style to your videos. So I think that's awesome. So definitely mess around with those transitions. They can add a lot to a little montage scene like that. Or going in between, you know, maybe you're outside vlogging and then you're inside. Adding a cool transition is a fun way to kind of bring the viewer into a new scene where something new is happening. All right, up next, I'm gonna teach you guys how to zoom inside of iMovie. So first, we're gonna be talking about the jump cut zoom. And so this is when you see an image playing and then it just suddenly pops forward and it zooms in with a jump cut. And so I'm gonna show you how to do that. First of all, you're gonna need your video down here in the timeline. I'm just gonna use this clip right here to do my jump cut, as well as the true zoom that I'll show you later. But once you have this in your timeline, you're ready to start editing it so that you can zoom in. The first thing that we want to do is figure out exactly where do we want to jump in and zoom in. And so we're gonna watch this clip right here. It's about 4 seconds long. And maybe I want to jump and zoom in right when she looks up. I'm gonna zoom in on her face. So right here, this is the playhead, and I just want the playhead to be sitting right there. So now you can do this in two ways. In order to cut it, you're gonna hit Command B, and that has now split this into two clips. I'm gonna hit Command Z to undo that. The other way to do it is to right click on the mouse and then hit Split Clip. So now it's gonna zoom in right here, and let's say we want it to end maybe right here. So it's a very quick zoom in and then it cuts out. I'm just gonna make another cut. It's important that you do both those cuts if you want the zoom to end in the clip before doing the zoom, because it's gonna make things a lot easier, and you'll see why right here. So if we select the clip in the middle, this is the clip where we want to crop in, zoom in, and this will be our jump cut. So we select it, and we're gonna hit this little box up here, and it says cropping. So we're gonna select that. And then here, there's a couple different styles. There's fit, crop to fill, and Ken burns. And the one that we're gonna focus on for this video is crop to fill.
Now you notice that there's this white box around the video. And so in order to crop in using this box, you need to make the box smaller and then you can move it around. So this is what they're going to see. They're not going to see any of this dark spots out here. They're just going to see what's inside this white box. We're going to zoom in really tight on her face for this zoom. And then you're going to want to hit this blue check mark to apply the crop adjustment. So now if we hover over this clip, we can see that we're zoomed in here. And then beforehand, this was how it was normally. And this is the ending, how that was normally. And that's why it's important, because if you were to make a cut theoretically right here, this clip would still be cropped. And so how you could fix that is you could just select this and hit reset. And that would be another way to do it. But that's just kind of adding an extra step when you don't need to do that. All right, so let's play this through and see what it looks like. Awesome, so that's the first way to zoom in by using the jump cut. And this is perfect for when you're doing YouTube videos, maybe you're talking to the camera. And if you mess up on some of your words and you have to pause for a second, you can crop in, you can keep talking. And if you mess up on some of your words and you have to pause for a second, you can crop in, you can keep talking, and it kind of covers up some of those mistakes. And so that's what a lot of YouTubers do, is they zoom in using this jump cut to cover up their mistakes. Now we're gonna go over to this clip. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. And this is where we're gonna apply the true zoom. All right, so that's the clip that we are working with. And there's not really a real name for this, but I've just called it the true zoom because it makes sense to me. But let's get right into it. All right, so this one is a little bit more complex, but if you follow along with these steps, it's gonna be super simple. So just follow along, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to do this. So first things first, we wanna find out when we want to start the zoom, and then later we'll figure out where we want to end it. But first things first, where do you want to start the zoom? I want the video to play a little bit. She maybe does a spin, and then about halfway through, maybe right here, I want the zoom to start. So with my playhead right here and the clip selected, I am going to right click and hit split clip. Now you want to select this second clip and you want to go back to cropping. This time we don't want to hit crop to fill. We actually want to use Ken burns. You can see here that we have a start rectangle and we have an end rectangle, and the start rectangle, that's kind of hard to say, start rectangle. Say that 5 times fast. You want the start rectangle to cover the entire clip, which is how it does it just normally. So you do not want to touch this start. What you want to do is you want to change the end rectangle. So if you double tap end, it's going to select this end rectangle. Now we can begin to crop in wherever we'd like. So here I wanted to zoom in more so it can focus more on my wife and her spinning around. And so I want it to end right there. Now that I'm done, I'm going to hit the blue check mark. And we're going to watch this through. We're not done yet because there's one more crucial step we need to do, but take a look on what it looks like now. And this is going to show you what Ken burns do. Boom. So that looks pretty cool because the camera is zooming in almost like it was a normal camera, and from our start point all the way to our end point. Here's the thing though, we want to change the end point to maybe end right about here instead of going to the very end of the clip. That's where I want the end of the clip to be, but I want the end of the zoom to be right here. And this is where you need to make another cut on where you want the zoom to end. So I'm going to hit Command B. And we're going to watch it one more time, and I'm going to show you guys how to fix this issue that we're going to see. Okay, so if you see what it did there, it's kind of quick. We have our normal clip. So on the second clip, it does a Ken burn and it ends where we wanted it to end. But this third clip does it again because it was selected on Ken burn. So we want to select it. We're going to go back into the crop mode. And here's what you need to do. You want to switch the end and the start. So this one right here needs to swap with start. And how you do that is by clicking this symbol right here. Now that the start has replaced the end piece, we are going to click crop to fill. Now it's completely removed the Ken burns. And so this third segment right here is going to end on the part where we wanted it zoomed in. So I'm going to hit the blue check mark. We're going to watch this again one more time. And now you're going to see the full effect of the true zoom. Awesome. So that's exactly what we wanted to do, is do that quick little zoom, but it looks like a real camera zooming in rather than a jump cut.
Now, at some point in editing, you're going to want to use a voiceover. So let's check out how to do a voiceover right now.
I'll explain how you can do a voiceover with something like a smartphone, and then I'm going to show you how to record with something like a USB mic directly into iMovie. Now, to be fair, we're not using this microphone just yet, but I am going to be using this in the video. First things first, we want to figure out exactly where I want to start the voiceover, and you want to just move your playhead to where you want it to start. So for me, I want it to start on this clip right here where my wife walks out into the ocean, and I'm gonna do a little voiceover right here. So right at the beginning, I'm gonna hit my playhead. Now, in order to get to the voiceover options, all you gotta do is hit this little microphone button right here, and you're gonna see a big red button, which is how you start recording. And this right here is your audio levels. This tells you how loud or quiet it is. If it's way down here at the bottom, it's gonna be really quiet. It can get orange or red, and that tells you that it's a bit too loud. Right here on the right is our voiceover options. And if you open this up, you're gonna see a few more things. So input source, right now it's set to the built-in microphone on my iMac. And I definitely don't want to use that because I'm going to get some pretty bad audio. And so if you don't have a USB microphone, I recommend not using the iMac. You know, the new MacBook Pros that Apple has been releasing actually have some really, really good microphones inside of them. But for a lot of us, our computers, our laptops just don't have good audio. For most of us, whatever we're using, the built-in microphone is not going to be very good. So a great option is to pull out a smartphone. For me, my iPhone, go into the voice memo app, and then you can record with the iPhone or whatever smartphone you have pretty close to your mouth, not right in front of your mouth, maybe right off to the side. And if you do your voiceover like this, you're gonna get way better audio than the built-in microphone on your computer. From there, you would just airdrop it to your computer and drag it from the downloads onto your project. One other tip with recording with a smartphone is that if you plug in headphones into your smartphone and it has a speaker on the cord, you can actually sometimes use that microphone. So if you hold that right in front of your mouth and you begin to talk into it and do your voiceover, sometimes you can get much better audio with that as well. But for us, since we have this USB microphone, we want to select the USB advanced audio device. Now, whatever yours is titled, it's gonna pop up there if it's connected to the computer, and you're going to select that. Now here you can see that you can change the volume, and then you can also mute the project. So if you don't wanna hear maybe the music that's overlaid, or if you don't wanna hear the sound that's coming from the video where you're doing your voiceover, you can keep that selected. I like to keep mute project checked. One last thing to do that is super crucial before recording your voiceover is actually going into your system preferences on your laptop or computer. So for me, I'm going to select the Apple. I'm going to go to system preferences. Then I'm going to go to sound. Now, something to notice here is we want to go to input because that is what the voiceover is using, is the input of the microphone. And here we have our USB mic selected, so that is good. Here is where we need to make some big changes. That's going to make a huge difference for our voiceover. Our input volume right now by default is just set to 50%. So if I unmute my microphone on here, and I talk, you're gonna notice two things. One, this input level is crazy loud, and literally it's red. Anytime I start talking, if I stop talking, it'll go away, but this thing is just way too loud. So on the back of my microphone, I have a gain level and I can turn it all the way down. But even if I do that, the computer is just boosting it so loud that it's not even helping. And on this computer, if you leave the input volume up pretty high, you're gonna get some weird buzzing sounds out of this thing and some hissing and just stuff that we do not want on our voiceover. So I like to turn mine all the way down to 0 and then just barely pop it up right there. So that is the least it can go, and that's where I want to leave it. So from there, I want to boost the audio on my microphone, which is going to give me the best quality sound. All right, now that I've got my audio levels right about here, I don't want it at the very top because then I could start clipping. I just want them a few notches down. So this is actually looking perfect. Now that that is set to go, we're going to get really good audio, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So back here, make sure you have this selected, and then you can see here that my audio levels look pretty good, and there it goes orange, which is okay. You just don't want it to go red. If I talk really close to the microphone, then it's gonna go red. But again, I'm gonna be right here. Orange is fine, green is fine. So let's open up the settings. Make sure we're all set, make sure we're all good to go. Now, one of the weird things in iMovie is that there's another input volume level. And so if I adjust this, you're gonna notice that iMovie is now boosting it. So we wanna keep this down. We're gonna actually just keep that at 0 and see how it sounds. Now, before I hit the red button to start recording, it's gonna give you 3 seconds to kind of prepare yourself for the recording. And so it's gonna jump back 3 seconds. Don't freak out. When it starts recording, it will start right here at the playhead where you want it to. So let's hit that. Thanks for watching this video. If you use iMovie, give this video a thumbs up. Then you're gonna hit the same button to stop it. And now we have a voiceover. So let's take a listen and see how it sounds. Thanks for watching this video. If you use iMovie, give this video a thumbs up. So it sounds pretty good. Once you've recorded your voiceover, you can still move it around if you wanted to start it at the beginning of your video, and you can drag these ends here if you want to cut off any parts of it. So for example, if I want to cut off the beginning part, thanks for watching this video. I want to cut all that out, and I just drag and trim it off. And then these right here are going to fade in and out your audio. So I'm just going to fade that in just a little bit. I don't want it going over my voice, but I want to fade it in and out just a little bit. So right here, if you use iMovie, give this video a thumbs up.
Now there's a lot of cool things you can do with green screens inside of iMovie, so let's check that out.
You really need 2 different clips. You need your base layer, which I'm going to be using this clip right here of my wife at the beach. And then you need your green screen footage. Your green screen footage is going to go on top of your base layer. And so up here in my media, I have my green screen effect, which is this little like button. And I want to add that to my YouTube video where it prompts people to like the video. So I'm going to select the part of the green screen that I want to use, and then I'm just going to simply drag it on top of my clip. Once you've dragged it on top of your clip, you're gonna go up here to some of these effects, and you wanna click this one right here with the 2 rectangles. And these are your video overlay settings. And so right now it's set to cut away, but we want to go to green blue screen. So there's a few settings here that we can tweak, but so far it's looking pretty good. If I play it through, it's hard to notice, but down here, there's like a gray line that comes in. So right here, there's no gray line. And then right there, this gray line comes in, and I can actually fix that by, if I go back up here to get into the settings, if I just move these corners, these little white circles, that's actually gonna get rid of that for me. And so let's watch that one more time. Yeah, those are now gone. And so that's looking pretty good, but I'm gonna show you the rest of the settings in case you wanted to mess with those. You have softness, and if you increase or decrease, it's gonna mess with the edges of your green screen. And so you definitely just want to mess with that, put it on both sides and see what looks better for your footage. When it comes to cleanup, this one is what we just used, and that allows you to kind of cut off certain parts of the screen that you do not want to be shown. And I'm going to show you a great example of that later. And I'm also going to show you how to move this thumbs button down into the corner if you want to do that, because most of us don't want it covering the entire screen. So I'm going to show you how to do that in iMovie. The eraser allows you to drag on the parts of the screen that could still be green or could still be showing, and that will tell the green screen effect that those colors and those pieces need to go. And so that's the best way to kind of clean up your footage, is by using that eraser tool. So we're going to hit the check mark. Now again, I like this effect. It looks great, but I don't want it in the middle. So typically if you had a kind of like an overlay, you would just go to picture in picture and you'd be able to move it around. So when I go to picture in picture, it does not do the green screen effect. I'm able to move it around like this, which I would probably want it like right about there, but the green screen effect is not applied. And so when I go back, there's no way for you to change it, but I'm gonna show you right now how to do that. Now, how you do this is you actually want to copy and paste both layers, your green screen as well as your base layer. I'm gonna hit Command C, or you can right click and hit copy. Then you're gonna go back to your projects and you are going to create a brand new project. So if we create new, we wanna hit movie. Now inside our brand new project, we're going to paste by hitting Command V. Now on this clip, we are going to go back here and we don't want the green screen effect yet. We just want the picture in picture, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna export this clip, then bring it back into the other project, and then there we're gonna use the green screen effect. So right now, I just want to kind of place it where I want. It could be on this side, it could be over here, it can be wherever you'd like. I think I want mine to be right here. Now that dissolve that's happening, I just want to get rid of that. So I'm going to hit 0 on dissolve. So we'll hit the check mark, and I'm going to actually center that just a little bit better like that. All right, so let's see what it looks like. So I like that a lot better. Rather it being, covering my wife, I kind of like it over here off on the side. And so that's looking really good to me. Now what we want to do is we want to export this movie and then import it into our original movie. In the top right corner, we're going to hit share and go to file. And for your resolution, you can change it to whatever you like. I like to keep my quality at high for something like this. And then I'm going to hit next, and then green screen overlay. We're going to save that right to the desktop, and I'm going to go back to my projects, and I want to go back to my original project, which was Beach Day. Now that we're back in our original project, I'm going to go to File and go to Import Media. And I know it's on my desktop, so I'm going to hit Desktop, Green Screen Overlay, Import Selected. All right, so here we have our effect, and I'm going to drag this directly over what I had before. And you can notice I already replaced the green screen footage that was there, because in iMovie, you can only have one more layer on top of your original footage. Now that we've moved it, we've done our picture-in-picture effect. We don't need to use that again. We want to use our green screen effect. Now here's where it comes in handy. When it comes to these, we want to move this so that it's just over the green screen footage. That's looking pretty good. It looks best with the softness at its maximum, and we'll hit the check mark. Now when we watch it, we can see that the green screen effect is working and it's moved over exactly where we'd like it. Let me go back to my original project green screen. The reason why you'd want to keep this footage under here is just for a point of reference. So maybe if you have a green screen footage that you can find on YouTube of like an explosion or a gunshot, I've done some action films and have used those green screen effects in iMovie, you still want the footage here so that you can line up exactly where that explosion should be. And so that is why I have this here for that point of reference. From here, you can go up here and you can export your final project and you'll have that green screen all set to go. So you're pretty familiar with the basics of iMovie, but there's a lot of cool little just like tricks and tips that you can do inside of this software that a lot of people don't really know about. So I'm gonna share some of my favorite tips and tricks / editing hacks in iMovie right now. For this first trick, I want to add this little thumbs up button right here and move it down here when I'm talking with a sound effect to notify people to like the video. So the most important thing is to find an image online that's transparent. That means there's no background. So back here, it looks like this is a black background, but really there is no background. And I'm gonna show you when I drag this over, you're gonna see that it's see-through. Now, this is not what we want it to look like. We're gonna fix it, but you definitely want a transparent background when using this effect. And so let's start by placing it where we want. So I wanted to start right here,
actually to edit inside
last a few seconds, and then have it go away right there. So it's 3 seconds long, and I'm gonna zoom in on this by dragging this way. Now that we're closer up, let's adjust some of these settings so that it looks good. First of all, the crop is weird. It's like cropped in way too close. So we're gonna go into cropping, and instead of Ken Burns, we wanna go to fit. Because we have a square picture, if we go to crop to fill, you're gonna see that you can't fit the entire thing in there. So we're gonna go to fit, and that is going to give us the correct cropping. And then the next thing we need to do is go up here and go to picture in picture. Now you're gonna see it's a lot smaller and that nothing is cropped, and we're able to, if we select this, move it around and put it wherever we want. You can make it bigger by dragging these blue dots, or smaller by doing that as well. I want it right here, and I'm gonna make it a bit bigger. And then all we need to do is change a couple more things and add a sound effect. So if we play it right here, you're gonna see that there's a dissolve. I don't want to dissolve, I want it to pop right into the video. And so if we go back into these settings,
for the dissolve, we're just gonna turn that to 0 seconds. Hit the blue check mark. Now we're gonna watch it again and it should pop up and pop out. And I'm gonna use some of this footage actually to edit inside of iMovie so you guys can see. Perfect. The last thing to do is to add our sound effect. So I have this pop sound effect that will match perfectly with this image. Now I'm gonna zoom in as much as I can because I really want this sound effect to pop right when it comes on. So right there is gonna be great. I'm gonna use some of this footage actually to, we could probably even turn it up a little bit more to maybe 200%. Some of this footage actually to edit. Awesome. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select it. I'm gonna hit Command C to copy it. Then I'm gonna come over here to the end, put my cursor down and hit Command V to paste. Let's watch it back. Some of this footage actually to edit inside of iMovie so you guys can see what that looks like. Now you can use any image you want. You can make your own image. You can have it say subscribe, subscribe and like this video, whatever you'd like. And this is just kind of showing you what you can really do in iMovie with this picture in picture effect. And then again, making sure it's transparent so that it overlays really nice onto the video. The second trick I'm gonna show you guys is how to do a speed ramp in iMovie. And if you don't know what a speed ramp is, stay tuned, I'm gonna show you right here. So right here we have some 120 frame per second footage that I want to slow down so it's 24 frames per second, making that 20% slow motion speed. 100% would be its normal speed, is what I would see, 20% slowed down. And so I'm gonna start by, we'll use this clip and I'm gonna just drag this on here and you're gonna see something that iMovie will automatically do. They add a speed ramp for you. So right here in the beginning, it starts off at its normal speed. I'll play it through. And then right when you see this little dot right here and this symbol, it goes to slow motion and then picks up again. And I'm gonna show you how to tweak all these things as well as another way to do the speed ramp. So let's just watch this through first. Boom, it slows down, does a nice smooth transition into that slow motion. But as you can see, this shot is way too long. And so I kind of want to change it up. So what I'm going to do is you can grab either one of these. You can grab this top one or you can grab this bottom one. And I'm going to show you what both do. So this top one is actually going to change the speed. And so I don't want to touch that yet. I will get to it in a second. But this one is going to change where it either speeds up or where it slows down. So if I move this around, let's say I want her to be in slow motion while she turns her head. So right here, it's ending while she turns her head. I'm going to zoom in, move this so that it's in slow motion all the way until right there, okay? And so I want the slow motion to kick in here, so I'll bring the other one to start right here. Really, the only thing that changed is how long the slow motion, boom, and then it goes back to its normal speed. So let me zoom out. I'm gonna drag this one over. I'm gonna zoom back in so that I can make some better adjustments. Basically, if you look at that film strip, just think of it as a start and end point for your speed ramp, okay? So where this one is first, this is going to be the start of the slow motion, this one's the end of the slow motion. So I want it to start right as she turns her head. Let's watch that now. Awesome, so I love that. I think that's a really cool shot. And then boom, back to normal motion. That's pretty sick. So this top piece, if I move that, it's actually gonna start to mess with the slow motion settings. And so you'll see if I grab this one right here and I start to stretch it out, this is going to be, this middle part is gonna be even slower, but I don't want that because if you go too slow, it starts to look choppy. So I'll drag this out just to show you what that looks like. And let's watch it again. All right, see how that looks pretty choppy? It's because it's way too slow, and so I do not want to do that. And you'll see as I keep moving this closer, the turtle is going to change from a turtle to a rabbit. The rabbit means it's going faster, and then the turtle means that it's going in slow motion. And when you see nothing, that means it's at 100%. So right here, there should be no change happening, okay? So nothing changed there because it's at 100%. In all three sections. And so if we drag this out, we can make that slow motion again. Now, if you're having trouble with this, sometimes it can be a little weird to mess around to get your exact timing. I'm gonna show you another way to do this speed ramp that might be easier for you guys. So we're gonna start by dragging our clip down again. And you're gonna see it still has this built-in speed ramp. So we want to go up here, select this, and change the speed back to normal. Okay, so now we have our normal clip, and it's gonna look kind of weird because it's shot in 120 frames per second. It just looks kind of jittery, but that's just because it was shot in 120 frames per second. So this is it at its normal speed. So again, I'm gonna zoom in and I want this look back to be in slow motion. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the range selection by holding down the R key on the keyboard and select the parts that we want to be in slow motion. Okay, so that is the clip I want to be in slow motion. I'm gonna let go of R and I'm gonna go up to here, select speed and change it to slow. Now here you're gonna have some options for your slow motion, 10%, 25%, 50%, or auto. I want mine at 20% and you don't have that option in here. So what you can do is if you go to custom, you can actually dial this in to exactly what you want. So for me, I want it 20%. Now you notice it's put in these symbols, so I can still use these to make adjustments if I need to do that. Perfect. So this slow motion part is at 20%, which is exactly what I wanted. And then boom, it goes back to 100% right here. And again, what's nice is I can change this. Let's say if I wanted to start right here, I can just drag that over and boom, it's done. Simple as that. That's how you do a speed ramp. Tip number 3 is using green screen in iMovie. So I'm gonna show you how you can use a green screen explosion like this, or you can even use a subscribe button like this and overlay it on top of your video. So I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. You wanna start with your base layer. And for me, I'm using the shot of me running down this alleyway. So I have this clip of me running down the alleyway. I want to add in an explosion right as I leave the frame. So first, we're gonna find what part of this green screen do I wanna use. Then you're just gonna drop it right on top of your footage. And to get rid of the green background, you wanna click on this right here and change it to green, blue screen, and it's already gonna do a pretty good job for you. And then in here, you have some options to change this. I think it looks best probably if I turn the softness all the way to the right. And then it's done a pretty good job with cleaning everything up. So we're basically set. Now what I need to do now is just set up the right timing for the explosion. So if we watch it through right now, I kind of get blasted right in the explosion. So I'm gonna just drag this to the right. And it's really as simple as that. In iMovie, you can just drag it to the right and I'll drag it even a little bit more. So right here is maybe when I want this explosion to happen. Okay. So here is what it looks like with the correct timing of the green screen. Awesome. Now, utilizing green screen footage is a great way to have fun in iMovie. You can find a lot of free green screen footage on YouTube and then do a converter. And that's what I did for this. Obviously, this isn't like the best explosion, you know, it's not the most realistic, but it's a fun way to practice using green screen and to express your creativity inside of iMovie. All right, the next trick is to use the audio effects in iMovie. And so I have a little scene here where I'm talking to someone, AKA myself, on the phone. And let me show you what that looks like first, and then we'll go ahead and add the effects and you'll see how much better it makes it. All right, so here I have my footage of me reacting to the phone call, and we're gonna not do any audio effects on this one, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do next.
Hello? Ooh, my bad.
All right, now I want to add the phone caller, which was myself in this instance, and I'm just going to grab this and drag it underneath, and it's automatically gonna turn it into an audio file. So when I let go, it's placed on the timeline. Now I just need to line it up perfectly with the video. All right, so let's watch this through, and then I'm gonna show you how much better it sounds when I add a little audio effect.
Hello? Hey, I'm just calling because, well, you forgot to hit the like button on the video. Ooh, my bad.
All right, so it sounds pretty good, but we're gonna make it sound a lot better. This audio clip doesn't really sound like it's coming through the phone. And so if you click up here, you're gonna see that there is some effects. So you have some that you can use for video effects. If you wanna make it in black and white or blockbuster, you know, if you wanna use any of these, you can do that. But a lot of people don't know if you select the audio effects. Let me select my audio first. You can then change your audio to one of these effects.
Hey, I'm just calling because, well, you forgot to hit the like button on the video.
If I want to sound like a chipmunk, I can do that, or...
I'm just calling because,
that's a little scary.
You forgot to hit the like button on the video.
But for this one, I want to use telephone because I want it to sound like it's coming through the telephone. So let's select the telephone, and let's listen back to it now.
Hello? Hey, I'm just calling because...
First things first, I'm gonna turn it up because I feel like the effect kind of made it quieter. So I'm gonna turn that up to about 250% and we'll take a listen now.
Hello? Hey, I'm just calling because, well, you forgot to hit the like button on the video.
Ooh, my bad.
So that sounds way better. It sounds a lot more realistic, like it's actually coming through the phone, but really it was just an audio effect on this audio. Tip number 5 is a really cool effect that I use all the time when editing. It's called a J cut, or it could be an L cut depending on when you use this effect. Let's watch these 2 clips and see what it looks like before a J cut. Cheers. All right, now I'm gonna add a little J cut, and you wanna start by detaching the audio. So if you right click, you can hit detach audio. Now what I wanna do is I wanna have the audio actually come in on the previous clip before this footage is even shown. So I can drag the audio like this. Cheers. But now you notice the audio's off. So I need to trim this end until those 2 right ends align, just like that. Cheers. But also this audio right here is kind of ruining the shot. So I'm gonna hold down R and I'm going to mute that audio by pulling that down. And that is how you can get rid of that audio. So let's hear what it sounds like now. Cheers. I think that's pretty cool. So I really use that all the time, but one tip here is that you want to fade in the audio. So this audio is going to fade down and this one is going to fade in. And that just gives a really seamless transition from one clip to the next. The reverse of this would be an L cut, and we're gonna do the same thing here. We're going to right click, we're gonna detach the audio, then all I wanna do here is start to shorten this clip so that the audio overlays the next image, and let's see what that looks like now. Some average coffee out of a French press. Now I used to work at a coffee shop. One last little power tip and trick that kind of goes into what we're doing here by detaching audio is really making clips seamlessly come together. And so if we right click and we detach the audio on both of these, I'm gonna show you what it sounds like before we do this trick. You're gonna notice it's a little rough when it cuts because the other one is louder. So the audio gets louder, it's just kind of a harsh cut. And so here's something that I do a lot is I extend both of these audio clips. And then like I talked about, I just fade in and fade out each of the clips. And this helps the cut to go a lot smoother. I would probably bring this audio down. We can even extend this one and then all the audio just kind of seamlessly goes into the next clip. So let's listen one more time. That sounds awesome. Just by detaching that audio, extending it out, and just fading them in and out of each other is gonna make your cuts way more smoother. All right, this next trick is a pretty cool one. I'm gonna show you how to clone yourself inside of iMovie. First, let me give you some tips on the footage that you're gonna need to make this happen. First off, your camera cannot move at all when filming this, and you wanna be in complete manual mode. So manual focus, you don't want auto white balance. You want to put it on daylight or whatever fits your scene. And then all your other settings, do not touch them. I don't even press the stop button because any little tiny movement of the camera will ruin the shot. So I recommend doing what I did here, doing it in one clip and then hitting stop at the very end. And then if you can, you want to use some sort of studio lights. I used a window and you're going to notice that the lighting kind of subtly shifted and that kind of ruins the shot too. And so there's a way to kind of fix it that I'll show you, but the best way to do it is under LED lights or some sort of softbox or whatever lights that you have. Use those instead of like outdoor lighting because that can also ruin your shot. So we're gonna start by dragging down my first performance of me on the right side of the screen. So this is the beginning of my second clip. This is where I want it to start. So I'm gonna hit I, and you're gonna see that is gonna be my beginning point, and then I'm gonna play it through and figure out where I want it to stop. I mean, come on, if you like cameras, if you like YouTube, just subscribe to Think Media. You should. That's where I want it to end. So then I'm gonna hit O, and that is my selection that I want. Before dragging this on top of this footage, what you wanna do is you wanna go to the crop, but you wanna make sure this is selected. So that's selected. Then you're gonna wanna hit crop. Once you hit crop, you want to cover only the parts that you are in. You do not want to cover up any sort of part where your other clone person is. And if you can, you want it at the very top and the very bottom. It's gonna make it easier when I show you how to do this. All right, so we're gonna hit the check mark and we are going to drag that right on top of our clip. Now that they're lined up, you can see this doesn't look right. This needs to be on the left side. So I'm gonna select it again. And this time we're gonna go over here and we're gonna go to picture in picture. It automatically makes it really small, but we can scale it back up. So it's going to kind of snap to the grid. So as it snaps to the top, snaps to the left, we're then just gonna take this bottom right-hand corner and drag it out to the bottom of the screen. We're then gonna hit the check mark and you're gonna see it's not perfect because there was a little bit of a cloud that came over. This shot is a little bit darker than this one. It's not the end of the world though. How you would fix that is you'd go to this and you wanna just change your highlights, your midtones, shadows, and adjust all those so that it looks as clean as it can. So as I adjust this a bit brighter, I knew it was darker. So as I adjust this brighter, this line right here is starting to go away because these shots are now starting to look closer together. And it's still not perfect. We can still see a little bit of a line right here. So I'm going to drag this one and bring it up a little bit higher. And it really just takes some fine tuning when you are fixing this kind of stuff, but you can get them pretty close. Like right now, I don't really see a line there and this is starting to look really good. So this is looking pretty good, but if we go to the very beginning, I do a ghost effect there, which I don't want to have happen. So I'm gonna click on the picture in picture and then go to 0 because I do not wanna have any sort of dissolve. Now, let's watch this and see how it looks.
I mean, come on, if you like cameras, if you like YouTube, just subscribe to Think Media, okay?
There you go. You have a clone effect right inside of iMovie. Who knew iMovie is better than After Effects? If you're enjoying this video so far, give this video a thumbs up and comment down below and let me know how long have you been using iMovie for. With this next tip, it's very similar to our first tip with a picture-in-picture effect, but using it in a different way. So here I have another transparent image. I'm gonna drag that over my clip in the sky and you can see it's a planet and I'm just going to do exactly what I did in the first tip, making it go to fit and then going to picture in picture. Now I just want to kind of frame it into my shot and we're starting to get sort of a sci-fi looking shot here. We're gonna change the dissolve to 0. And now we got almost like a sci-fi looking scene here because we have a planet up here in the sky. And so using picture in picture doesn't have just to be for subscribe and like buttons. You can do some kind of cool effects like a moon or a planet like this. And so you can get creative with it. If you want to go even more in depth, you can do some keyframing with your picture in picture. So I went to our backgrounds and I used this educational still image. And here on top, I have a transparent plane. So I am going to fit the plane and then make it a picture in picture and get rid of the dissolve. So here I have a plane, but it's just sitting still. I want it to fly across the map. And how you do that is by using keyframes. So if we go back to our video overlay settings, you're gonna see this little button right here. That is for our keyframes. And so we want the plane to go from North America all the way over to Africa. So we're gonna set our first keyframe right here because we want the plane to be right here. And then I'm gonna hit play. And right there is where I want it to land on Africa. So if you don't see it, all you gotta do is kind of click on it and it's automatically added a new frame because you can see the X right here. That means there's already a keyframe on top of it. If you hit the X, it's gonna get rid of it, okay? But we're gonna drag it over here. It's added that keyframe for us. And that's just 2 keyframes. We have one here at the beginning, and actually I can hit this back button and it will take me to the first keyframe. And then you can see right here, it jumps forward and that's our second keyframe. So I'll hit the check mark and we can take a look at what this looks like. And there you have some keyframes right inside of iMovie, which is pretty cool. But the plane doesn't look natural because it's not going the way that the front of the plane is going. So if we go to the cropping, we can actually kind of flip this plane around and hit the check mark. And now it's looking a bit more natural going to Africa. This next tip is going to save you so much time because I use these every time I edit and I use them a lot. And these are keyboard shortcuts. And I'm gonna share just some of my favorite and most used keyboard shortcuts that I really do use every single time that I edit. The most common one that I use is the space bar. It's my play and pause. So if I hit the space bar, the video is gonna start playing. I hit the space bar again and it stops. And so you can hit the play button and the pause button right here, but it's so much easier for me to just use the space bar to do that. The second one that I use is the zoom in feature. So most of you know that right here, you can zoom into your clips and zoom out on your timeline, but sometimes that isn't just the most efficient way to do it. So I like to use Command minus to zoom out real quick. And then if I want to zoom in on a clip, if I'm like trying to edit something that is a short clip, or I'm trying to go like frame by frame, I would hit Command and then the plus sign, and we are going to zoom in. That makes it way easier for me to make a really micro edit by zooming in rather than it being way out here. The next keyboard shortcut I use all the time, and this one probably saves me the most amount of time, is my copy and paste. There's kind of two ways to think about this. There's copy, which you hit Command C, and then if I go right here, put my playhead right there, if I hit Command V, it's going to paste the clip. But the one that saves me the most amount of time is actually when I hit Command C and then I go to my next clip and I hit Command V. The reason why I do this is, for example, if I want to copy a crop, so this image is cropped, but I want this image to be cropped as well, I would hit Command C and then I'd hit Command Option V, and that is going to crop the same amount. You can also do this with audio. If I want all these clips to be muted, I can just mute one of them, hit Command C, and then select all these clips, hit Command Option V, and now all those are going to be muted. Now this one I use a lot as well, and that is Command Z. It undoes what you just did. Let's say I accidentally delete my entire project. I select it all, I hit delete, and it's gone forever. Until you hit Command Z. When you hit Command Z, it undoes what you just did. And but maybe I wanted to delete the whole project. Then I could hit Command Shift Z and that will redo. And I'm telling you, I make so many mistakes where I accidentally do something. Let's say I make it black and white and then I'm like, I did not mean to do that. I just hit Command Z and I'm back to normal. This next trick, I'm gonna show you how to turn any video of yours into a time lapse. So here I have a 13.5-minute clip and I'm gonna drag the entire thing down into my project. And then to turn it into a time lapse, you're gonna select the clip, go up here to the speed button, and we are going to change our speed to fast. Here you're able to make it 2 times, 40 times, 8 times, 20 times faster, and you're able to get that time lapse effect. Even though I put it to 20 times speed, it's still not fast enough. I mean, this clip is 40 seconds long, and I really want it to be like 5 seconds long. So what you can do is you can go back to custom, and then here you're able to change it to whatever you'd like. So instead of 2000%, let's put it at 10,000%. Now it is an 8-second clip, so let's try 12,000%. 6-second clip, let's take a look and see how this looks. Awesome. So I think that looks super good. And you can definitely use this if you're shooting the sky or cars coming by, whatever kind of time lapse you want to do. This is a great way to do it inside of iMovie. Now this last tip is going to give you the best export settings so that you can get the best video quality from iMovie. After you've spent all this time in editing, you really want to make sure that you're exporting it the right way so that you don't lose any sort of quality when you put it onto YouTube. So we're gonna go to File, then to Share, and then to File again, and we're gonna have some settings to mess with. When it comes to resolution, the higher the number, the higher the resolution, the higher quality it is going to be. So if you shot it in 4K, you would have an option here. We shot it in 1080p, and we want it to be in 1080p. We wouldn't want it to be in 720 because that is going to be a lower quality. When it comes to format, we want our video and audio to be exported. Now, when it comes to the quality, you have a few options. I think it really comes down to 3 options. We don't want to use low. We don't want to use medium if we're trying to get the best video quality. You're going to want to use high, best, or custom. And I've done tests on all three of these. And in my opinion, the best quality you're gonna get is using best ProRes, but there is a catch. And it's actually not the best one for YouTube, and I'll tell you why. First, let's take a look at high. This clip right here is gonna be 17 megabytes. And if I change it to ProRes, it's 101 megabytes. Now that's a lot more storage. And so if you don't have a lot of storage on your iPad, your laptop, your iMac, then you do not want to use ProRes. You would want to use high, or you'd want to use custom. Now, custom is at 20 megabytes per second, and you can see that's what actually high is using because it's the same file size. So if you want to get a little more extra quality, you can drag this all the way up to its maximum amount. And this is only going to go up a little bit. It's not at 100 megabytes like the ProRes was, but this is actually going to give your image a little bit more of sharpness and a little more higher quality. And so I did tests on all three. This is going to be the second best after ProRes, but ProRes is barely better. It's not a whole lot better. It's just a little bit sharper, but this is a very close second. And for all that storage that you're gonna save, you're gonna wanna use quality custom and then turn this up all the way. And then when it comes to compress, I think the default is on faster, but if you want the best quality, leave it on better quality, and then you're ready to export. Here you can title your project and tell your computer where to save it. When you hit save, it starts to export. And a lot of people don't know, how long it's gonna take. If you click this right here, it shows you that it's exporting time-lapse. And when that circle goes away, you're gonna get a notification that your share was successful and your export is complete. And now you know how to export your video. So we started with nothing. We found iMovie, we opened it up, we put in clips, we took out the bad, we kept the good, and now we've exported our first video. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause because we made it. So congrats on following along in this video, and I'm sure you've learned a lot. Take it one step at a time. Focus on maybe one effect, one thing, whether it's cutting, whether it's using a transition, maybe it's adding music or a song, and just make a video centered around that. It does not have to be long, but that's how you get started. It's how I got started. I took one thing, whether it was a clone effect or an explosion, I would literally just make one video. It'd be one clip, and I would just work on that explosion, and that would be my video. And that's how I got started with all of this. Now, if you're interested in going deeper inside of YouTube, maybe you're wanting to make YouTube videos, well, we have a free masterclass on how to actually get views and subscribers on YouTube, because editing and shooting really is a big piece, but it's only half the battle. The other part of the battle is the strategy that goes into the YouTube videos. So if you want to learn how we got views and subscribers this year on YouTube, then you're going to want to check out our free masterclass at thinkmasterclass.com. Now, you might be interested in the production side of things, the cameras, the lights, the audio. You want to get good video so that you can edit with some good footage inside of iMovie. If that's you, we have a playlist that you can click on the screen right now to watch that, as well as a link in the description to our beginner YouTube production playlist. I hope you enjoyed the video. Until then, I'll see you next time.